Welcome back to the Important Nonsense Podcast. 32 teams in 32 days. New England Patriots. Neil Smith. At that FF nerd, Jason Draven. At Mike Burland. Back again, doing what we do, taking you through every team in the NFL, getting you prepped for your fantasy draft at the end of this month. Today, as I mentioned, we're breaking down the New England Patriots, how the mighty have fallen. We've been doing this for a number of years, and normally this is a very long show with a lot of positions to talk about. And not to bury the lead, but they are tied for the lowest number of draftable players coming into this year. Before we dive into it properly, a couple of PSAs as always. This advice is based on 12-team PPR redraft, standard size leagues, 16 rounds, that type of deal. If we have takes for other formats, we will give them to you here as well, but that is the baseline that you should be using this advice for. This also heavily uses the Fantasy Pros ECR for a lot of the base rankings that we do. We'll also reference our own rankings along the way because we are all part of the Fantasy Pros ECR. We are a Fantasy Pros affiliate. So thank you, Fantasy Pros. We love working with you. The depth charts that we use come courtesy of Player Profiler. Shout out to Jack Kavanaugh. Appreciate your work as always. Check us out at importantnonsense.com. Sign up to be a member of our fourth wall. Get our premium access behind the paywall. Important Nonsense After Dark, featuring Jason Draven. He does the show Donald Duck style with no pants.
Stop telling people that. God,
sign up for
looking through my window or something.
I mean, that's the OnlyFans that I set up in the background too. How do you think we pay for all this? Oh wait, we're not supposed to tell you about that camera I put in your eye. That's right. I forgot all about that. Sign up for our Discord. Keep Jason company, and you can, if you ask nicely, maybe he will add you to the OnlyFans. You never know. You never know. You got to sign up to the Discord first, and you got to ask really politely, and maybe you will. Maybe you'll get taken in. I don't know. You'll have to work that out with him. The new that's right. We're doing a show about the New England Patriots. I almost forgot what we're actually here to do today. Today is August the 12th. So if anything we say sounds a little bit dated, that will be why. Check out the wrap up live stream on the 1st of September. We're going to go through and update any takes that need to be updated. It's a long show, and we usually bring in everybody for it. So it's the big kickoff show, the final thing before everybody gets drafting and really gets going in earnest. So check us that all out there. But as far as the Patriots goes, let's just get into it. Quarterback, Mac Jones. Feel like I've seen enough of Mac Jones at this point to have any all optimism and hope that he might be somebody in the NFL. I think is kind of faded here. It's not something fantasy relevant. And it's funny because it's not just my opinion anymore at this point. It bears itself out this way. He is the quarterback 30, translates to 239 overall by ranking. He's being drafted at 203, so he's not even being drafted. That is not in draftable range. So Mac Jones not even being drafted at all, and I think that's correct.
Yep, I agree. There's no upside with him, really. Like, if you want him as your second quarterback, fine, but there's just literally no upside.
Rather have Sam Howell.
Yep.
Rather have probably
Jordan
Ritter.
Love.
Jordan Love.
I'd much rather have Love. That's not even
Purdy.
close. Yeah.
Baker Mayfield.
If he's starting, I guess. Mac Jones is in that like nasty. I'd rather have Derek Carr. Comfortably rather have Derek Carr. Like there's no, as you said, Mike, there's no upside to Mac Jones. It's just, can he keep anyone else on the team value, at any kind of a value? It's just, there's no ceiling to this. It's all floor. They don't throw enough as a team. And when they do, he's not accurate enough. Think Dollar Tree Jimmy Garoppolo. Like it's like really, really, really poor man's Jimmy Garoppolo is what Mac Jones is. It's not good. So don't draft Mac Jones. The only way you're going to roster Mac Jones is if you're playing in like a 2 QB super flex league. Yes. Then Mac Jones gets drafted, but even then you're not happy about it. Something has gone awry in your world, more than likely, if that's a thing that's happening. So yeah, no upside, and the floor is not good high enough to really matter. And I'm just glad that the public appears to be catching up with this, because by ranking, he should be going even lower, but even by the public, even the public's out at this point now. So this conversation's kind of over, which is good because backup is Bailey Zappi. Don't care.
Same kind of player.
Same thing. Yeah, there's nothing there to get excited about either. So we're just don't even worry about drafting a Patriots quarterback.
He's the perfect, just to explain how boring Mac Jones is. People are so excited for Bailey Zappi, Patriots fans. That is, that's how bad and boring Mac Jones is. Bailey Zappi is. Oh, he has a cool last name. Yeah.
There's no optimism. That's why I was saying how the mighty have fallen. This team had Tom Brady for a long time, and people were really excited about Jimmy G. And the last couple of years, it's a running first football team, and that's what they're going to be this year again. It's all going to be about the running backs, and that gets borne out for fantasy purposes as well, as we're going to go through here properly in a second. Running back, this is what people are excited about. Rhamondre Stevenson, Damian Harris is gone. No more Damian Harris for the Patriots, as we talked about. He is now on the Bills, and it opens up a lot of touches for this running back room with him leaving. Rhamondre Stevenson, not my favorite football player, not really my style for PPR. I prefer guys who catch more passes, but I get the hype because there is some hype. He is going as the RB9 in the opening rankings here for the preseason, but it translates to about 24 overall. So into the second round, he's going at 25 overall by ADP. So first pick of the third round. I have no issue with that. Does anybody have any issue with that? Does anybody want to challenge that?
Nope.
It's fine. I mean, it's a little high.
Is there any reason that you could see him getting more than that? Is that, do you feel like you're drafting him at his ceiling at that price tag?
Maybe slightly more. Maybe. He did catch 69 passes last year.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So, and I think I heard a huge percentage of those were not on third down. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing necessarily, but what I like about Rhamondre is they've basically been keeping him in bubble wrap all offseason training camp. And so they know he's probably their most talented offensive player. So that's kind of a good thing. I think he survived the offseason of up until now of free agent running backs. He survived the draft that was supposed to be stacked with running backs. So here we are, August 12th, Rhamondre Stevenson. Patriots didn't really I don't think they brought anyone in really.
No,
they've brought in a handful. Yeah,
they've got a handful, but it's all just gaudy. It's just guys.
Yeah.
As we're going to get into in a second, because, in fact, we'll do it now, Mike, and then we'll circle back to what you were talking about. The rest of the room is Pierre Strong, Ty Montgomery, no, and then Kevin Harris. That's really the rest of the room at this point. And then they've got a few other guys lingering around, but I don't even know if they'll make the team. This is what I expect their running back room to be when we kick off for week 1. They're going to probably carry 4, and none of those guys are draftable. And if something was to happen to Rhamondre, not to bury the lead, I think this would be a committee. I think Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris would split the actual real running the ball duties. They'd probably split it up a little bit. And then Ty Montgomery would be there to catch passes. None of it has any value. Stop with Ty Montgomery. Just stop. I'm tired of this conversation year on year on year.
He's hurt again, too.
I don't care. I don't care if he was healthy. I'm tired of this conversation.
Exactly.
What will probably end up happening is they'll use Tyquan Thornton as the
sure, the wide receiver. Yeah, the scat back. Yeah, sure.
Would be perfect for him.
Move him over. Maybe actually, but I don't know. Either way, there's no handcuff for Rhamondre, in my opinion. So back to your point, Mike, they didn't bring in anybody else to really challenge him as it relates to Stevenson.
Yep, there's Cook rumors, Fournette, I think, visited, but yeah. But Kevin Harris seems like a guy that's been on the Patriots since 2005. Just sounds like they've had a guy named Kevin Harris on that team.
It definitely feels like that. Although he's only been I believe this is year 2 of Kevin Harris in reality. But yes, he does feel like he has always been there. They've always had a guy named Kevin Harris. Yeah. But they've always had people like that. Brandon Bolden, for a million years. Yep.
So yeah, to go back to maybe you're drafting Rhamondre to ceiling. I think there's a slight upside. I mean, RB9. Hard to see him getting too much higher than that, but I like Stevenson starting off a draft with a Jefferson, and then Rhamondre is my number one guy. I think it's a solid start.
Yeah, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like give you the side eye. I wouldn't feel like I ruined my team if Rhamondre was my starting running back, because I've probably got some decent wide receivers, like you're saying, or maybe I got CMC and Rhamondre as my RB2, and then I feel like I'm pretty stacked at that point. I'm be pretty happy with how my team is shaping up at that point, because I'm locked at running back at that point. I'm gonna have an advantage probably every week in the running back room.
And then
Against
you'll
most
get
teams.
David Montgomery later. What, 5 rounds later? 3 rounds later?
Well, it's more than that. It's 4 closer to like so. Yeah, I can see that argument. I can see that argument. That's actually a good comp because similar type of thing. Not an elite catcher of the football, but can do it. Will get targets, but not all of the targets. Will see the lion's share of the red zone work and the true running back work. What would scare me about that is the competition level for Montgomery is a lot higher with Gibbs as opposed to Rhamondre, where it's like, no, it's Rhamondre and then dudes. Whereas whatever I think of Jamar Gibbs is relevant. Dan Campbell is a lunatic. And as somebody who's rostered the Lions running back room in a lot of years,
It's
especially
so
the
much
last
fun.
2, it is, but it's kind of maddening because you'll be sitting there like, I need my guy to get out there, and then suddenly it's the other guy is trotting on the field, and you're like, no, like don't do it to me. So it's that's going to be the difference with Rhamondre, in my opinion. But nobody is going to really push back on this ADP, I don't think. And I think that is the reason why he's going higher than some of those guys that are going lower. Jason, I think what would be a more interesting conversation is would you rather have James Conner, who's in a similar situation to Stevenson, where there's nobody chasing him 2 rounds later? I think that would be or Joe Mixon 1 round later, who's also in a similar situation. Would you rather have either of those 2 guys? I think that would be the more direct apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, but Joe Mixon's also the legal issues I'm more worried about. So Connor.
League doesn't seem to be. They're not
Yeah.
talking about suspending him.
Yeah,
He's not
because
facing a felony charge.
It hasn't gone through yet.
Well,
He had
okay. Is that going to go through in the next 2 weeks? Because if it doesn't, then he's not going to get suspended until next year. That's next year's problem. Similar to the Alvin Kamara situation, like from last year, where it's like, nope, we're going to kick that can down the line.
Yeah, that was just resolved 2 weeks ago or something,
Yeah, the legal system takes forever, and he's not facing a felony. I read that report. It's a wild story, which we don't have time to get into here today. It's wild. We talked about it on the Bengal show, actually, that something might be amiss in Joe Mixon's personal life. Like, that man leads a wild existence, and reading that report really paints a picture where it's like, oh, okie dokie. That's how you live, huh? All right. It's hot. It's a hot way to live. It's not boring. It's not boring. My life is
want
really
to set
boring.
your underpants on fire? Let's try
My
that.
life is really boring compared to Joe Mixon's life. I gotta tell you, like the highlight of my day yesterday was eating tacos. His life, his shout out to tacos, by the way, not a sponsor, just
But
something we think
delicious.
is cool. Just the no specific brand, just the general food item tacos, delicious. Like
best meat for a taco.
Oh, that's tough.
Like Pastor or
Pastor is up there. It's on the page.
Nada.
Carnitas is also, it's up there. It's on the page. I love me some carnitas, especially made by people that actually know how to make carnitas, like proper people that really know how to do it. Oh, it's delicious. It's melt in your mouth.
No,
Barbacoa. If you're feeling a little wild,
man, because I like it on the spit with a little bit of.
Oh, no one's gonna argue about Pastor. Pastor is the top 5. Like, it's whatever you can reorder the top 5 however you want it. Pastor is in the top 5 for sure. It's delicious. Like it's all right. We all agree on that. All right, folks. Until then, keep up the nonsense, and we'll see you tomorrow. Talk about the New Orleans Saints, and then continue to rank tacos. That's how little there is to talk about with the Patriots, folks. We could actually probably do we could go through
wide receiver.
Well, you could do wide receiver if you want then, but because we already covered running back at this point. There's no handcuff. Rhamondre, I prefer to get him a little bit lower, but no one's going to argue with where he's going. It's a logical place to have him. And I agree, Mike. I think you're getting him near his ceiling. It might not be the top theoretical ceiling, but that's why I asked the question, because I'm like, it feels like we're getting pretty close to sticker price here. But he's going to get all the red zone work, and I sort of get this. If you want him, that's where you're going to have to pay.
And it feels safe too. Like you got to bake that in as well. So
nobody's taking his job. It's only by injury that he would lose that job. And to Jason's point, they've been keeping, or one of your points, they've been keeping him in bubble wrap. Don't need to see you. Just hang out over there. We'll see you week 1. The wide receiver room for this team is woof.
I mean, they keep bringing back the same guys, except for those.
They do, and that's part of the problem. Is they did go out and make one move. They lost Jacoby Myers, as we covered for the Raiders show. They don't have Jacoby Myers to kick around here anymore, which is a shame because he was probably their best wide receiver. So that tells you what they think about wide receiver, though, because they were willing to let him go. And then they brought in JuJu Smith-Schuster to do the exact same job. That was the one notable move. They bring in JuJu. JuJu's going to be the immediate slot. He's going to be their wide receiver 1, but he's still going to play the slot. Not to bury the lead too far here, but he's the only thing that I'm excited about as a true wide receiver on this team. Because the other guys in the room, Kendrick, Bourne, Tyquan, Thornton, as Jason referenced from the running back conversation, where I would argue with you, but they were using Cordarrelle Patterson at one point to do that. Yep. So I was gonna mock you, and then I'm like, no, he's actually, he might be onto something there. And it probably would be Tyquan Thornton.
They like Tyquan.
Well, it probably would be Tyquan Thornton because it's not going to be Kendrick Bourne. He's going to play on the outside because he has to. And then they paid DeVante Parker, who they love for reasons, but the ship on DeVante Parker being a real fantasy thing has kind of sailed a long time ago. And then they have Demario Douglas, who, whatever. Like, it's not really something to get excited about. Some of this has to do with Mac Jones not being able to pass the ball enough to support multiple pass catching options. The only guy with an ADP, folks, is JuJu Smith-Schuster. He opens the season by ranking as the wide receiver 43, translates to 108 overall. He's going at 109. I love this.
Good value.
Yep.
Target hog.
I love it.
Yep.
They need a guy who can catch all the stupid underneath junk from Mac Jones. JuJu Smith-Schuster just last year on the Patriots had a very productive season doing exactly that. Oh, I'm sorry, with the Chiefs. I think I did say that with the Patriots. My apologies.
I was like,
I think I did say
Freudian
slip. He was very productive with the Chiefs last year, doing the exact job they're going to ask him to do here. Granted, it's Patrick Mahomes versus Mac Jones throwing you the ball, but the competition level is way different. The competition level for targets.
Yeah, you don't have Kelsey there.
You don't have Kelsey there. Exactly.
Rhamondre probably is.
It's Rhamondre, right? It's Rhamondre or the tight ends working over the middle of the field. JuJu is going to feast in this offense because they like to work the middle of the field. They try to keep the ball in front. I'm just going to the penalty box now. Mac Jones, the other Jones. Mac Jones likes to keep the ball in front of him. And he doesn't take a whole lot of deep shots. He likes to work the middle of the field and just kind of methodically game manage the ball down the field. It translates to a lot of opportunity for JuJu Smith-Schuster, who, when healthy, has been productive in his career. So I find myself with a lot of JuJu Smith-Schuster. Mike, as we just talked about, I don't think this is anywhere near the ceiling for JuJu Smith-Schuster, given what he was able to accomplish just last year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. He's replacing Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers, we talked about it when we talked about the Raiders. He averaged more points than Garrett Wilson.
He was the wide receiver 29 and wide receiver 35 over the last 2 years. Jacoby Myers on this team.
I got him at 28, baby. Let's go.
28 is probably about the ceiling, but wouldn't shock me. Talking about a wide receiver 3.
Solid.
Talking about a wide receiver 3, you can have it wide receiver 4 flex prices. It's a good deal.
I mean, the only other name I kind of want to throw out, because Douglas isn't the one I would go with. I'd go with Kayshon Boutte. But just because you want to say Booty on camera. Little bit, yeah, that was part of it. But he was also in the preseason game. He did have some usage, and so I was impressed with what I saw out of him. So,
not something that you need to worry about drafting, but I agree with you. If you want to, that's the thing about this team. You guys are probably going to spend a lot of time on Monday nights talking about some of these guys on the waiver wire show because somebody's going to do something. Just by law of averages, someone will do something on this team. My money's actually on possibly Kendrick Bourne because he's been on the fringes of fantasy before, and he's not a bad player. He's just not really a particularly good player. But as far as draftable assets out of the wide receiver room, it's just JuJu Smith-Schuster. Everything else, leave it alone. Don't draft DeVante Parker. He doesn't have an ADP for a reason, even though the Patriots like him. And if he's healthy, I could see him having some decent games along the way. But don't draft DeVante Parker. There's no reason for that. Don't draft Tyquan Thornton. If they start using him as a running back, pick him up off the waiver wire. If Jason's right. Which
he's 180 pounds, like soaking wet though. So
I know,
don't
but
know
so
how much.
Cordarrelle Patterson didn't weigh much more, and they were throwing him in there. So like, I'm just saying, like, it's of all of Jason's insane, spicy, hot take furnace blast, that one was about like a 3 on the Jason hot take scale out of 10. Like that one, I'm like, yeah, I could actually see that. Is it the most likely thing I've ever heard in my life? No, but I could see it because it's Belichick, and they've done this exact thing before, but none of it has any draftable in draftable range. And weirdly, I think JuJu is actually probably too low. I think it's mispriced for what you should have to pay. In a world of inflated wide receiver prices, why JuJu Smith-Schuster gets a discount, I'm not entirely sure what the trepidation is, but I don't really care. I'm just going to stick him on the end of my team. If he's my 4th wide receiver, I love my life. My life is great. If he's my 4th wide receiver, I am stacked to the gills at that point. Because if I have 3 wide receivers better than him and I can use him during buys and as a flex, perfect. Love it. Love everything about it. He's exactly what I look for in PPR. Out of a wide receiver 3-4 territory, it's exactly what I'm looking for. Stable floor, nothing sexy. Don't need you to do anything crazy, but just get volume. Just get some volume and be open over the middle of the field. Love it. And he should do that no problem for you. And to be honest with you, I referenced the Colts show. The Patriots were tied for the lowest number of draftable players. With that, we're moving on to tight end because there's not much else to talk about here. Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, both on this team. The Patriots love their 2 tight ends. Whether it's Hunter Henry or JuJu last year, now it's Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Hunter Henry is going outside of draftable range. He has no ADP at this point. And Mike Gesicki is being drafted because people have learned nothing. You've learned nothing. I went on this rant last year about Mike Gesicki and how he's not good at football and how he's just a dude. And there's a reason that the Dolphins were just completely ready to abandon him the second they got actual proper skill position players. And then they were willing to let him go in division, and they just didn't even try to re-sign him. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. And now he's on the Patriots, and people are still drafting him. Can either of you give me a logical reason why you would draft Mike Gesicki and not draft Hunter Henry? Can you explain it to me like a 5?
He's like, I can give you a reason, but not against Henry. I can't.
Again, versus Henry, you can give me a reason, I'm sure, but answer my.
I can't. I can give you a reason.
Okay.
Not
Please.
why I would do it.
Explain it to me like I'm 5. Oh no, that's fine. Give me the narrative.
We'll
take a left turn down narrative street.
There was rumors about him being more of a slot receiver, which is essentially what he is. And people get excited. They think of Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. And Mike Gesicki's big year in Miami where he had like 700-800 yards.
Yeah.
I believe the offensive coordinator.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think he's that offensive coordinator is on the Patriots staff somewhere or was from the Patriots tree. I forget exactly, but I think that's why people are excited. But Hunter Henry's been like a top 12 tight end basically every year that, every healthy year he's had. So I'm not going to do it.
And Mac Jones loves him. Like, that's the other thing. Like, to the extent that matters, I know no one's happy about Mac Jones, but he does look for Hunter Henry, historically speaking. I just don't understand why.
Because he's a good target. That's why he looks for Hunter Henry.
Well, yeah. Well, you would be the expert on this, the two of you, about Hunter Henry, the life and times of Hunter Henry. How much of that have you watched? But Mike Gesicki opens as the tight end 21, should be 193 overall, but he's going at 177. Stop it. Stop this. That's insane. Like,
well, would you be okay if that was on Hunter Henry, Mike?
Yes. Okay. If that was where you were drafting Hunter Henry, I have no notes. We're not even having this conversation. My advice would be like, yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Sounds like a 15th round pick. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Cool. That sounds right. Hunter Henry as my backup tight end in the 15th round. Yeah. Yeah. Because he's the tight end 1 on this team, not Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is not draftable. What are you people doing? We've learned nothing. At least people aren't trying to draft him in the 8th, 9th round like they were last year. But still, he shouldn't be being drafted at all.
And Henry wasn't even far off from like his previous 3 years where he was a top 12 guy last year. It was a little low on the catches and yards and touchdowns, but it wasn't that far off. So Hunter Henry feels like a safe 60, 600 yards, and then he could be a big touchdown guy. So.
I was gonna say it's the epitome of tight end. It's if he falls in the end zone, you win. And if he doesn't, okay, you're not even that mad because he's not gonna like you know what I mean?
7-8 points.
Yeah, it's like Hunter Henry to me feels like one of these missed opportunities. Where okay, would it shock you if Hunter Henry was had the second most targets on the team by the end of the year?
Just because of Stevenson, that would be.
What about third? What if it's third?
Yeah. That'd be fair.
What if he was third in targets? Would you be surprised? Like, no, right? Sure. If you want to tell me it's JuJu, Rhamondre, Henry, okay, whatever, fine, like, fine. But either way, it's like I'm not understanding why people are drafting Mike Gesicki at all, and then they're not willing to draft Hunter Henry. I feel like it's just backwards. You should just flip this, take Hunter Henry in the 14th, 15th round, and just don't take Mike Gesicki at all.
Well, it's a shiny new toy. That's how it always works. You know that. They love shiny new toys.
People are crazy. You guys are going to talk a lot about Hunter Henry on the waiver wire show on Mondays. That's my thought, is that pretty much immediately, because he'll probably catch a touchdown in week 1, and everybody's going to be like, oh my God, we forgot about Hunter Henry. Oh my God. It's just like, and then and then I'm going to show up on your show in the background and just pop in on the stream and just be like, I told you, and then just leave and then just leave and go back to what I was doing. Just, yeah, that's my big takeaway from this whole show, actually, is that was the thing that jumped off the page at me when I was putting this together last night was, why are people doing this? And you know me, I don't care about tight end that much. I just feel like this is backwards.
Well, they thought the same thing with JuJu last year, so why not stick with it?
Well, yeah, they were wrong
for you.
And then they were wrong about JuJu, and then they just threw the ball to Hunter Henry a bunch of times. I feel like I'm in the movie Groundhog Day. Like it's just the same thing over and over. It never breaks the pattern. So, is there anybody else on the Patriots you guys want to, talk about at any level? Because to be honest with you, I think this is it. There's not that much here. There will be a lot of things on the waiver wire potentially because none of it's really being drafted. So it's possible some things will pop. But for me, it's pretty straightforward. Rhamondre at ADP, I'd prefer to get a little bit of a haircut on it. But if you wanted to do it, okay. Love JuJu at the relative ADP he's at. And the people are picking the wrong tight end. And that's really it.
I mean, I'm gonna bring him up again because they do like him, and it's Tyquan Thornton as probably gonna be on the waiver wire a lot.
As a name to know, sure.
Yeah,
sure. Don't draft Tyquan Thornton though.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do that. There's no reason to draft Tyquan Thornton.
It's a name to watch, especially preseason. He had some great looks last night. So
I can't disagree with that. I just want to make sure that it's clear. None of us are advocating to draft Tyquan Thornton. You can pick that up later there's no reason to draft him.
Waiver wire seems to be that will probably be a name that will pop up every now and then.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna have a couple on here. Wouldn't shock me if DeVante Parker was on your show. Wouldn't shock me if Kendrick Bourne was on your show. Wouldn't shock me if Tyquan Thornton's on your show. Hunter Henry probably will be on your show. Like it wouldn't shock me if something was to happen to Rhamondre that you have to do a whole running back roundup to try and parse out who people, because that'll be a thing. If Rhamondre went down, that would be people would be asking us on Discord all day long, which one of the Patriots should I be trying to pick up? And we would have to try and parse out that soup to figure out what you would want. And I'd be like, I wouldn't be blowing a lot of my fab budget on any of it, would be my actual comment there. That's why I was saying they're all worth taking a poke at to see who sticks, but I'm not plunking down 70% of my fab budget on Pierre Strong. That ain't happening. That feels like path for. Is the FBI coming to SWAT you, Jason?
No, I just heard an F-35 take off, so I was checking to see if there was something else going on.
All right. Well, before Jason gets swatted, we're gonna wrap it up for today, folks. That's the New England Patriots in a nutshell. Nice, neat little bow on it for you. Boy, I remember when that show previous years. This is like an hour. You got to parse out all the different players. Not anymore. This is not your daddy's Patriots. That is not how that works anymore.
I mean, we can go on a whole nother tangent if you want to do that. We can work on.
Nah, we don't really need to do that, because what we need to do is give people some time back in their day, and we'll have plenty of time to go on to weird tangents tomorrow when we sit down and talk about a team that's got a lot more draftable assets with the New Orleans Saints. But until then, we will see you tomorrow, and keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!